Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Pup here with my Friday update. Just going to go through my interesting weekly charts. Going to start on the daily and take us through what looks pretty good coming into the end of the week. Actually, let's look at the weekly charts. This way we can get a broader sense of what's going on here. So let's start off with Airbnb. So Airbnb did come up to my next target of 174.74, which is right at the 50% retrace from this swing high right here to this swing low right here. Double bottom breakout about 4 weeks ago, and we are continuing higher. So Airbnb finishing very strong into the end of the week. Next up is AFRM. Another strong candidate here coming into the end of the week. We're right back to our highs 2 weeks prior, closing potentially over our 786. We do need to close over 125.47 to break that and close over that 786 retracement. Not quite overbought on the RSI yet, but a close over 125, and then the coming weeks we could see 147. Next up is apps. So apps clearly showing a weekly breakout and a close over our year-to-date anchored VWAP. RSI broke 50 and looking to break the trend line, and we have a slingshot squeeze setting up, and we have a MACD crossover. So continue to watch apps into the coming weeks. Looks really good here. I would expect in the coming, 8 to 12 weeks, we should be testing $100 possibly by the end of this year. Next up is Carr. This is Ava's budget group. So we're coming right to the top of our channel. We have a peekaboo breakout candle coming back into overbought conditions. We do have a weekly squeeze looking like it's going to fire off, and we do have a positive momentum on the MACD and a MACD crossover. So Carr looking really good in the coming weeks. In Dash, we have an inside week spinning top, generally a reversal signal. We are at my 225 target, so watch for potential consolidation into next week, and then I would wait for a break over 225 for a continuation, and then that would hopefully get us over our center channel line, and then I would be targeting 256 in the coming weeks for Dash. Next up is Datadog. You can see this top of the flag is still acting as resistance. We did have a breakout during the week, and now we've closed, potentially going to be closing back inside of the flag. So we're also seeing strong resistance naturally at the 1618 extension at 148.04. So that would be the key level that I would be watching. RSI is in overbought conditions. TTM squeeze looks like it's flattening out in momentum, and the MACD is near its highs of its previous move. So I would just keep a closer eye. The other thing I'm looking at here is a broadening formation. So, ultimately I think we can reach up here, but like most trades, I like to do an extension off the previous swing high, swing low. And I always like to watch this 1618 extension from Fibonacci. And this generally presents the biggest first target and biggest hurdle to get over in order to make a bigger move higher. And so what I would be watching for is potential consolidation, maybe an inside week next week before retesting and breaking over 148. And then of course, over 148 you have 150, which is a nice round number. So I think over 150, and we could definitely start to see move up to 166, and then possibly in the next couple of months up to about 180. All right, next up is Fiverr. Fiverr, after gapping down on that earnings, we are trying to break out on the RSI, flat momentum on the TTM squeeze, but we do have a MACD trying to curl here, so watch for a crossover possibly next week. But we've had 2 strong weeks of buying action here. I would watch for a move up to 223 next week that would be our first big test. We've got that 382 at 222.79. And then we've got the year-to-date anchored VWAP right at around 225. So between 223 and 225, I think that's going to be our next contentious level. And then over that, we have the top of this monster weekly flag that we've been forming. Next up is Lucid. So Lucid gave us a false breakout over this year-to-date anchored VWAP. And you can see I have these two wicks right here. This area is going to be tough to break, but we are closing over 50 on the RSI. We do have a slingshot squeeze setting up, and it looks like MACD is trying to curl here on the weekly. So watching next week for possible inside week, and then a break and hold over $29 to $30. Next up is Love. These are old notes. This one came on my radar this week. It looked like Jets was doing pretty good. So let's just chart this out as we see it. Looks like a peekaboo breakout candle here. Again, a massive weekly flag setting up here. We have a break over 50 on the RSI. No squeezes to note, but momentum is shifting to the upside. And we have an inbound MACD crossover with momentum also going to the zero line. So keep an eye on Love. This is the Love Stack company. I said Jets before. I was thinking Southwest, but scratch that. But this is the Love Stack company. Keep an eye on Love. We do have a weekly flag breakout in the works. Next up is Lowe's. We do have a massive broadening formation here. We had an outside week last week, inside week this week. I think this is setting up for another flag break right here. So slingshot squeeze, positive momentum, MACD crossover, RSI holding over 50, looking pretty good for a continuation into next week. Next up is Lulu. We had this peekaboo breakout candle back here over 399.90. It's been flirting with that level, building a broadening formation. Looks like we can come back up to the top of this broadening formation, possibly next week. Momentum on the TTM squeeze is a little flat, but still looks like it's rising. MACD is rising. RSI is rising. It looks pretty good. We had a nice 21 EMA pullback test 2 weeks ago. We had an inside week last week, an outside week this week. Looking pretty good for a continuation on Lulu. Next up is MDB. Got a little mini flag or pennant setting up here. All right, let me draw that out for you. Like a flag. So, MDB is setting up. We had an inside week last week. We've got a piercing pattern here on this week. RSI is over sold conditions, no squeezes to note, and MACD diverging lines are separated. So, we're just keeping an eye on MDB. Looks like it can make a big move, but look at what happened back here, right? We had a similar, big push up. We had a flag. And then we broke down double bottom, nice W pattern right here, right? Ignore the note, but nice W pattern back into a flag and then a push higher. So just keeping an eye on MDB in the coming week. Next up is NTRA. Thank you again, Raina, for putting this on my radar. Still setting up. Spinning top into that 127.19 resistance. RSI did break out. TTM squeeze 4 weeks into being fired. And a MACD crossing curl. So we're still waiting. We need a weekly close over 127.19 for this to break out and then search for 139 and eventually 154. Next up is PLTR. Printing an inside week after last week's massive breakout. Slingshot squeeze setting up here on the weekly, has not fired yet. MACD cross and curl. So PLTR, you can see it back tested 2751 and held. So looking strong. Looking for a strong close today on PLTR, and then next week I would be watching for a bigger move. Next up is Snow, still in our cup formation here, holding under 327.72, 4 weeks into our squeeze fire, RSI not quite overbought yet, MACD is still rising, looking good. Next up is Tesla, trying to show signs of strength. Back tested the 50% retracement, still unable to get over the 618 at 763. We are 2 dots into our weekly squeeze fire. MACD has crossed over, and it's a little flat, same as RSI. So I think we're just going to need some kind of news event with volume to push Tesla back higher. And last but not least is Zoom Info, ZI. We're 8 weeks into our squeeze firing, haven't reached overbought conditions yet. MACD had crossed back here and still rising. And yeah, it looks like a kind of like a rising pennant here. So holding under 67.63. Actually, we're over that right now. It really should be a little higher. It should be right there. You can see the closes are right under 67.81. So ideally, I want to see a close over, let's just call it $68. I think over $68, we should be starting to move higher. You could see last week we had an outside week. This week we had an inside week. So it's setting up. It's setting up. It's not ready yet, but it's setting up. So once again, that is my Friday update on the top interesting charts that I've been watching for this week. If you caught it from the beginning of the week, you know that we caught some really good trades today, or excuse me, this week. PLTR, Lucid, Carr, AFRM, Airbnb, all really good trades this week, all printed, multiple days. So once again, I'll be back with you this weekend with a similar concept. I'm going to review 10 charts. It might be a little more depending on what I see. And we're going to start tracking them for the week and see how they do. All right. So once again, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm merely doing this for educational purposes only. So please do your own due diligence on these charts. And good luck in the markets today. And I hope to catch you again this coming weekend. Take care.